Great. Single versus shared responsibility. Now, we touched on this a little bit in the previous module, talking around authority. And these overlap a lot. Probably could be one module, but I've split them out, so here we go. The pitfalls of shared responsibility is that there's two names assigned to something, and no one actually knows what's going on. It's often the blind leading the blind, and it feels great to say you and I are doing that together. But then no one does it, and it's like, are you going to do it or am I going to do it? And I think the reason we do this is because we get like lonely with stuff. We're like, hey, I don't want to do this on my own. I don't want to be the only person responsible for this. So we like to put two names next to it. And sometimes we'll put like a B player next to an A player just so they can feel like the B player is doing more. And cool, like in a team sense, sure, be a team, but just divide the project and say that's your responsibility and that's yours. The problem comes in when they share something. When the names assigned to two names assigned to one thing, you get this amazing thing called blame, where it's like, hey, I did my job. What did you do? Well, I did my job too. Well, we both did our jobs and nothing happened because there wasn't actually a singular breakdown of clarity. So we did this joint thing because possibly when there's single levels of clarity, why do we avoid that? Because then people have to take responsibility and they feel like I take responsibility for everything. I'm already responsible for so much, so why should I stick to single responsibility? This isn't fair, so I'm going to take B players and add them to, the scorecards that I'm being measured on, and I'm going to share that responsibility. It sounds great, and in sharing it, they're going to step up, but the problem with that is you're in a position of privilege because you've always taken responsibility, and now you haven't given the other person singular the responsibility to prove themselves, and they're already set up to fail in a shared responsibility sense. But if you gave them singular responsibility, they would now have the opportunity to go and deliver a similar outcome that you've just delivered. They'd be able to say, hey, I was responsible for this thing. I felt unsure of myself at first, and this is how I tackled it. And if they don't deliver whatsoever, you've now got a clear form of measurement to say, this is where you were at. Was the responsibility clear on what you were expected to deliver on? Did you have the authority to make the decisions needed to actually, see that outcome happen? And if all those things happen and the individual didn't contribute, you now have a very clear picture on their lack of performance. And you can have a healthy conversation around that gap, and they can't blame anyone because the responsibility sat with them. They have the authority to deal with the matter. And if they still messed up and they don't take responsibility for that, you now know you have an individual who is deflecting responsibility. But when you sit with shared levels of responsibility, you will never get to that scenario where you can highlight an individual's behavior and actually hold them accountable to the things that they were assigned to. So high levels of accountability, which is built on high levels of trust as you improve your organization, comes from having singular, highly defined, openly shared responsibility. And it's saying, Joe is responsible for all these things, and Jill is responsible for all these things. And if you need to talk to either of them and your concern falls in those matters, go chat to them. If you don't, find a resolution, this is how you chat to their level of management. This is how you chat to the person above them. And yes, that creates bureaucracy and it creates hierarchy and all of that, but it brings clarity and people can start operating and moving forward. You will be in a situation of bureaucracy, whether or not you have the clear lines of responsibility. It's bound to happen. And the way you can lower the levels of bureaucracy and political drama is to give clear responsibility and ensure that you're having healthy feedback loops so that people don't have to find other ways to vent and other ways to give feedback in using, things like sarcasm or, critical jokes or, demeaning behavior to other people or gaslighting them in, conversations. You can get to a point where there's healthy feedback because there is singular responsibility. And even if your responsibility is to make coffee or switch the coffee machine on every single day for their entire team, and that's, that person's responsibility, it helps They can know that the things that I was delegated to, the things that, was bestowed upon me that I am responsible for, I was able to deliver on. And they can have some ownership and start to act from a place of autonomy.